developments, we need to do a better job of planning the connectivity between the developments. We need to make sure that we are working for ways that you can get from development and shopping center and retail center to the business centers. There are things that we can do creatively to do that, whether that's hike and bike paths, whether that's making sure that there's shuttle buses going between, things like that. Those are all creative ways that we can look for doing that.
I believe looking at this and knowing that traffic is going to be a huge concern, I mean, we do have the plan already in place that we've planned out for the next, as the development goes for the next 20 years, but I think that we need to continually be looking at ways to adjust that. The second thing is I look at public transportation is not necessarily a bad thing. DART, I don't think reflects the values of this town, and DART's meant money, but I think that maybe looking at some other option is one of the things I would like to look at. I honestly don't know what that is yet, but I'm open-minded there. Because one of the things I believe is that as we continue to grow, especially as we continue to bring jobs here, we'll make it easy for people to get around who work and live and play here. Maybe they don't have to drive all the time. The other thing is bringing jobs in and making sure you can have your small business here. I currently have to make that commute and I hate it. Can't wait till we get to be here where I don't have to drive down to Dallas every day. And that makes it a little bit easier on you because we're not clogging up the tollway and trying to fight traffic. I remember when I first moved here, it took me 15 minutes to get down to where I needed to go. And now I'm on a good day at 25, on a bad day it's an hour. So I'd like to make that a lot easier by just making it where people can come here and we bring in more business here and keep people working here. Thank you.
Well, regarding the transportation, that is an issue because the more businesses you bring in, the more families you bring in, the more concentrated it's going to be trying to get us move around. We were at a function the other day with Stephen Jones and Mayor Mosso was sitting there talking about it, and he even indicated to us at his breakfast the other day that he'd been over in one of the foreign countries and they had 100-lane traffic and they still were backed up. So it's not building more roads because the more roads that we continue to build and build and build, the more congested they're going to be. We also discussed some things about the light rail system. Right now we have the BNSF Railroad, and we could have a line that runs through there, but it's going to be 20, 30, 40 years down the road before we get something along those lines, and we're not all the way built out right now. However, they're discussing about maybe possibly putting something like a bus line that goes along the BNSF Railroad so people can go up and down and get around here in the city. But I do agree that I think that we're going to have some kind of a way to connect from, for example, the Star Center over with Hall Financial Park, over with the mall and so on. And maybe we can have that hike and bike trail that we need in the bike lanes that we have. Thanks.
Mr. Wood?
Yes, traffic is certainly a problem. I remember when I moved here 10 years ago, and El Dorado was 2 lanes, and so was Preston. It took me 30 minutes to get across it. We've done a lot over the years. We do a lot better planning. We have a thoroughfare master plan in place. A lot of our roads were initially built out to 4 lanes, and then we can add 2 more in as traffic demands dictate. It is correct, there's going to be times that there will be traffic. You cannot physically put down enough concrete to handle all the cars all the time. Plus it would be exorbitantly expensive. We are looking at a variety of different factors though, some of them technology-based. Right now all of our lights are controlled essentially on a timing cycle. There's software out there that our engineering department's looking at that will adjust those timing dynamically to help cars move quicker. We're looking at installing roundabouts in new developments which keep traffic moving and don't queue them up. The possible retrofitting of others if it's cost effective. So there are other solutions out there outside of just building more roads and more concrete where we continue to queue up cars. No, I'm not in favor of light rail. However, our master plan does include several stops so that if some point in the future, wrap this up, so that if some point in the future some council decides it's worth it, we've already planned for it.
You know, when we first moved to Frisco, there was no Dallas North Tollway that came all the way up to Frisco, and one of the biggest traffic hazards that Mike Simpson had to deal with in our neighborhood was cows walking through his yard. So things definitely have changed considerably. One of the things that I want to address is the cost. I too agree with Ms. Huffman that the cost for participating in DART, though it sounds great to have public transportation, if the city of Plano, by experience, they have paid $1 billion, with a B, $1 billion into DART. And the ridership is so low that they could have paid for the entire Sam Rayburn Tollway for what they have spent. That is not fiscally conservative. I too am endorsed by Empower Texans, Texans for Fiscal Responsibility, because they know that I'm gonna treat your dollars just like they came out of my own pocket. And one of the things that we're gonna make sure that we do is deal with our partners in the county, on the Denton side and on the Collins side, to make sure that we get things like 423 and 380 done, and we don't bear all of the cost.
So I agree with what most everybody has said. We cannot put down enough concrete. And what Ms. Green was referring to, Mayor Masso, was in China, and there was a 100-lane freeway, 50 lanes going each way, and it was backed up with traffic. So you can never put down enough concrete. How many of you are ready to give up your cars? So our issue is, there's a couple of different things. Number one is density, okay? And we've alluded on it before. If we can reduce the density of the city, that will help our traffic issues, number one. Number two, I think we do need public transportation. DART is not it. $1 billion does not make sense. And so it's going to be a bus system is what I can see as a very achievable goal that we together have to work on and make that happen, especially once the Cowboys, the Star, everything starts happening in the $5 billion mile. I do think we are going to need something, and I think the best thing that we can do is an on-demand service to help people get around, and also a bus system.
We're trying to keep everything on schedule. It was supposed to be 8 o'clock. We got a little bit of start, so I'm trying to get as many questions in. So let's change it up and go for a very brief answer now. I think I know the answer. This is your statement being against or for the alcohol proposition. So let's just go in no particular order right down the road here, starting with Mr. Hall. Are you for or against the alcohol proposition? And as briefly as you can, why? Maximum of 30 seconds, please.
I am against, and the reason I'm against is twofold. One, the way it was done was completely wrong. It was done, it wasn't citizen driven, it was driven from the outside. We don't have people outside of Frisco telling us what to do. Two, it is vaguely, well, it's not vaguely worded. It seems clear, but we know what it's actually saying. It's not saying that the impact it's going to have is makes it sound like something that I would vote for. And so that concerns me. We're trying to trick our citizens into voting for something that doesn't reflect what they want in their values. So I'm definitely against this. If we want to readdress this later, maybe liquor stores or something like that, if the citizens want it, have them bring it another way.
I'm against the proposal because for the simple reason that I believe we've set in course a plan, we've worked at that plan to make sure that this is a community of high standards. This proposition takes away our ability to continue that plan and maintain high standards, and I won't accept that.
I'm against the proposition as well. We already have in place a procedure if you want to get and open up a bar here in town, and you can go through the planning and zoning, have citizen input. After that, you go to the city council, have citizen input, take it to a vote, let the citizens vote on that issue, and you get a special use permit. So we already have a process and procedure in place that individuals who want to open a bar, so I'd be against it.
No surprise, I'm against it too. And as a nurse, you learn to translate very complicated things into very simple language. So as a citizen, here's what I'd like for you to remember. If this proposition passes, you lose all input into your city regarding bars and establishments that sell alcohol. You lose all input. Any bar, any establishment that sells alcohol, liquor stores, regardless, can be put anywhere in the city as long as it's more than 300 feet from a church or school, and you will have no say.
I'm against it as well. We have an SUP process in place that works. I've participated in that process, so I've seen it do that. This proposition takes away local control and gives it to the state, and I don't believe that's good for the citizens of Frisco. We've all heard a lot of different things from a lot of different residents that have opinions on this, but at the end of the day, if there's something that our citizens want to change, we need to have that conversation with public hearings in front of our city council and not have this driven by a single business that wants to change the rules because they can't follow the rules.
So I am also against the proposition. I'm against it because the wording is deceiving, number one. I'm also against it because I feel that the city should have some control over bars
and where they are. And I don't think that Frisco is a city that wants the loosest form of legislation when it comes to alcohol in this state. And so I think that we can all vote against this one, and if we need to have a conversation on having liquor stores in town or some other form of legislation, we can talk about that as long as it's Frisco citizen driven and not driven from outside of Frisco.
Very much. To everybody, I just thought it was important, with every candidate being against it, I thought it was important to hear from everybody and the reasons why. With that being said, there's been a lot of comments made about endorsements by different organizations, different individuals, and I'd like to delve into that. All of your material have those endorsements. Also, the Dallas Morning News is a great website where you can line up candidates and look at different issues. So would each of you please, in no more than a minute, tell us some specific organizational or individual endorsements that you are most proud of and why they are relative to the position you are seeking. And we'll start with Ms. Ashton first.
Yeah, we should throw that one in. I'm endorsed by a number of folks. I'm endorsed by State Representative Matt Shaheen. I'm endorsed by Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. Probably the one that means that there's a host, and you can look on our website or on our material, of course. But the one that I think is most significant to you, the citizens of Frisco, is Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. That's a very, very difficult endorsement to get. It's a very rigorous questionnaire that you answer, and it's a very rigorous vetting process that you go through. They understand that the people that they endorse will treat your money like it's coming out of their own pocket. And that is what I plan to do. So as far as the city, that doesn't mean we don't have the greatest city in Texas. We will. But that means that we treat every dollar like it's our own.
I've received endorsements from the Frisco Police Officers Association, the Frisco Firefighters Association, as well as several of our current city councilmen, several of our existing ISD board trustees, individually by the entire Planning and Zoning Commission, and a couple of dozen of individuals that sit on various other boards and commissions with the city. All of these are important to me because I believe it shows my work and dedication with the city, how I've interacted with the staff, with our other partners such as the ISD, as well as the community members as a whole.
I am very proud to say that my campaign is a very grassroots campaign. It's all about the people of Frisco working together, and the people of Frisco are what are most important. So the endorsements that I am so proud of are from people in the community who have given years and years and years of their lives to this city. We have one here, Ms. Isabel Sim, who was the first Frisco ISD female board member back in 1977. Peter Burns, Citizen of the Year, I believe, 2015, as well as Mindbender Camp and other things. Deborah Nelson, Dan Mosikowski, some wonderful, wonderful people who have served this community, and it makes me so humble and proud to be endorsed by them.
We'll go in the same order here.
Through my involvement in getting to know lots of people in the area, I have the privilege of being supported and endorsed by several local, state and local political and business leaders. But I too, the one I'm most proud of is because it was the one that didn't just go